everyone, I hope you all are having a fantastic day. And today my topic of explanation is cholinereceptors, also known as the cholinergic receptors. First, here I have explained in my last video about the cholinergic neurotransmission. I hope you all have watched that video, and if not, that you should watch that video because that would be helpful. If you know about the cholinergic neurotransmission, only then you would be able to understand about the cholinereceptors. So let's get started. First, I want to be very clear that drugs are of two types that act on the autonomic nervous system. First, we have the adrenergic and the cholinergic. The adrenergic are stimulated by the epinephrine and norepinephrine, and cholinergic are stimulated by the acetylcholine, which is the most common receptor in our body. Now about the cholinergic neurons, they mostly innervate the parasympathetic nervous system of our body. But don't forget, they also play a good role in the sympathetic nervous system, in innervating the sympathetic nervous system. That is the sweat glands and blood vessels. So now let's move on to the cholinereceptors. Cholinereceptors are of two types, the muscarinic receptor and the nicotinic receptors. For muscarinic receptors, they have high affinity for muscarine, and nicotinic receptors have high affinity for nicotine. Nicotinic receptors are basically the ligand-gated ion channels, which when on binding with the acetylcholine, they lead to conformational change. And that conformational change results in the leakage of the sodium ions. Now here I have made the difference of these two types. I have made it. The muscarinic receptors have 5 subtypes: M1, M2, M3, M4, and M5. On the other hand, the nicotinic receptors have only 2 types: NM, as the name shows, it's for muscle contraction, and NN, it is transmission of the cholinergic signals. These two subtypes are present at the neuromuscular junction. For the nicotinic receptors, the NM type works very good at low concentration, but this NN at high concentration, it blocks the receptor. Now if we move on to the muscarinic receptors, I have illustrated, or I have जो भी है M1 जो होता है, M1 is located at the gastric glands. So if you need to remember this, you should remember gastric gland, G, C, and then E. G, C, E. Okay, first that means M1 is for the gastric glands, M2 in the cardiac cells, and M3 in the exocrine glands. Then eye, lungs, digestive tract, sweat glands, salivary glands, and they are basically means they are basically present at the smooth muscles. Now, if you remember that these muscarinic receptors are member of G-coupled proteins, G-protein coupled receptors, M1, M2, M1 and M2 and M3. Now, the muscarinic receptors, they are members of G-protein coupled receptors. If you forget, let me show you this part. Here, G-protein coupled receptors, they have the 3 particles, alpha, beta, and gamma, and they are of 3 kind of G proteins: GS, GIQ. GS basically activates the enzyme adenylyl cyclase. GI inhibits the adenylyl cyclase. GQ activates the phospholipase C, PLC, that results in the secondary signals, which are the DAG, and IP3. Some people also call it DOG. For this GS, this results in the activation, increase in the CAM from ATP once it binds, and if you remember, it was just a review. Now here, the M2 receptor belongs to the GI part. GI part here which inhibits this. GI part, this leads to increase in the potassium channel, which leads to hyperpolarization, and then it leads to decreased heart rate. Now, if we move on to M1 and M3 receptors, here they belong to the GQ part, which takes part in secretions, contractions, and the neurotransmission. And they also lead to increase in the calcium ions, which stimulation of the GQ leads to increase in the calcium ions intracellularly. So thanks for watching. I hope you learned this, and in the next video we will be learning about the 3 types of cholinergic agonists. So stay tuned. Goodbye.